The last time I saw you,
I was at the townhouse, right? We
yeah,
were living at the townhouse. I
yeah.
remember you were staying there.
So how old were you?
I was 11. I think it's so interesting. And it's something that I vaguely remembered about you, but it was like, I saw you like showing your stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to her about this because this is so cool. And this is something I never actually got to talk to you about because like when you were around, I was like so young and I'm like, I just want to like pick your brain. Like you're so fascinating, but not in the way like you're like in a museum and it's just like, but I just think what you do is really cool.
Well, I think there's also parts of you that you see in it maybe, and that you might be curious about.
Perhaps. I mean, I like following astrology, but like that's something that's like not has nothing to do with healing besides maybe trying to understand myself a little bit more. Um, no, but I'm just like I want to understand or at least try to understand like how you like go about what you do and how you like are able to like sense like I guess the pain in people and like kind of
Hmm.
take that away and make things better and I think that's so cool.
I love where you're coming from.
I, I'm just a very curious person. And so like when I'm curious about something, I'm always like, you know what? Doesn't hurt to ask about it, you know?
Absolutely. That's how we learn.
Exactly.
We all feel, right? We
Hmm.
all have feelings, and some of us have that capacity where we're so open that we are able to sense others, and
Yeah.
not just others, but even history in the space.
That's so cool. Like
Yeah.
for your brain to reach that point is just like so like mind blowing to me, who's just not gifted in any form. But I just feel like it's such like a special thing to have because I feel like you can affect so many people in a positive way with like what you do. So I'm just like, where did you find this? Like, how did you discover this gift that you have?
So, first of all, I've always been like this.
Okay, so it's
So,
been whenever you started to have memories, you knew.
yeah, I think the part of it is when you're conscious that it's actually, I mean, it took me a long time to realize that other people weren't like me.
Yeah.
A long time, because I would be like, what? You don't get that? You know, but not realizing it even into my 20s and 30s, where I thought people were certain ways. And it was just like, wow, because it was just how I was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, I was sensing things, and I always emoted really well because of my sensitivities. And sometimes it may not have been my own emotions.
It's so interesting. And it's like, so how are you feeling when you were like taking on like all these, I would say like quite random emotions for like whatever time in your life? And then like when did you start realizing maybe you were feeling for others and not for yourself? I feel like that's like something that may be like very difficult to go through.
Well, it's a really, sometimes you don't know, like you're not conscious of it because you're just feeling it. And then
And then you have
um
like an oh snap moment and you're like, wait,
yeah, pretty much. Pretty
okay.
much. This is later on in my life. I had been going through a divorce. He would never really get sick, but I would be getting sick through our years together.
Yeah.
Well, he came over sick.
Oh.
Mhm. And then we were chatting, and then he got up and left, and I moved into the space where he was sitting. And as soon as I moved into that space where he was sitting, his energies were still resident there.
Ooh.
Within a day, I was sick.
Oh my gosh.
Like I could feel it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's one example of how
How like strong it can be.
that was a huge awareness for me to have. And then what I was carrying through that relationship or doing without being considered that I
Mhm.
was doing it. Yeah. So it's an evolution for me to remember who I am. And that's what we're all doing, in that way of of our abilities, because you sense things. We all sense things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we know, I always use this one as an example, not to turn that corner that we normally take home. And we go another way and we find out something happened, just within minutes that you were there.
Mhm. I definitely understand that. Like, I feel like we have, like, the average person definitely has gut feelings and intuition,
Mhm.
and, like, empathy, where we can feel like someone we love's pain or someone else's pain, that we see that, like, there may be a tragedy occurred.
Yes.
But I feel like what you feel is something that's on like a different level, because you're actually feeling the other person's emotions. But the difference is, like, us, like me, like,
Mhm.
I can have a pit in my stomach because I'm sad that, let's say my mom or my boyfriend is upset, but you're like feeling the specific person's emotions, which is like a very different and unique concept to, like, that's why I think it's so intriguing, because like you're able to actually feel what another person's going through, and being like, hey, this is like what you need
Mhm.
help with in terms of like healing, and maybe having a positive change in your life. You feel it like in the physical, like not just sick, but like when you feel, I guess, when someone's like really sad, and like I said, like there's this very heavy pit in their stomach, like that point where it's like you feel so sick you can't eat. Like, do you ever take on that too? Like,
It's not really taking it on, but being, sensing
yeah.
that you say you don't have these things, but then you start realizing, oh, wait, I do feel for other people. And
Mhm.
then when you're having those feelings, sometimes things can come out in the dream world where you have answers for that other person.
Oh my gosh, I had a dream like not too long ago, but I told you my cousin Sam's having a baby, and I had this dream, and she's walking around and she's like, I told you guys it was a boy. I told you, like, I keep telling you, like, and everybody was like, what? And it was just a really weird dream. But like, I said, Sam, I know the gender of your baby. And she's like, what do you think it is? I said, I think it's a boy. It has to be a boy. I had a dream about it. It has to be a boy.
Uh,
And then, she was starting to think that it was a boy too. I think maybe prior to me, but then I had the dream and I was like, I have to tell her exactly
yeah,
what I'm seeing right now. And
yeah.
then, we had our baby shower maybe a couple weeks ago, and it was a boy, and I was like, see?
So
My
see,
dream was right.
yeah, I love that, because that is a perfect example
Mm-hmm.
of how, like, we can't always explain it. It just happens. Like when I'm in a certain space for the healing work, that's my intention. So with
Yeah.
that intention, something comes through and we can go to sleep before bed, we can have an intention. What is it that I need to know? Or if something's on our mind, we might get that answer, or we'll probably get the answer, but remembering it is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And then bringing that through and then acting on it. Like if you hadn't said to your cousin, hey, did it,
Yeah.
this is what happened, you may not have remembered.
I get that, because dreams are so easy to forget unless they stick with you. And there's only a
Mhm.
couple that stick. But that was one of the first times like I've had oh wow, like, because everybody thinks like sometimes your dreams may be the reality, and then sometimes it's not, and it's just your brain, being your brain, and you thinking in the subconscious way while you're asleep. But then there's sometimes that it's like, kind of look back on it and it's like, like this dream may have had a point. And it's like, I think it's important to always kind of look into that stuff if you like believe that sometimes what you're feeling or what you're seeing in your dreams may be a reality at some point. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Because reality is tricky. Because some
Yeah.
people say, well, the dream world is actually a reality.
Interesting place. If my brain was my dream world, I'll tell you that.
I can't believe that you're all grown up.
I mean, I guess you can say that. I'm still, don't have a big girl job yet. I'm just doing college and then doing work in like the summer and the times that I can. So grown up
Yeah.
not yet, but I'm getting there. When I
Yeah.
get my degree, maybe I'll feel a little bit more established.
Right. But little by little, I love that you have this curiosity though. And I don't think it's just for this. I think it's for life. You have this curiosity for life.
I try. I like try to be open-minded, as like stubborn and fixed as I am, to like look at things in like a different way and always be open to, different possibilities, like sort of gifts that, like, for example,
Mhm.
you have, and like understanding that like everybody has like their different set of, I don't know, ways of life.
Mhm.
And I think that if you're interested, you should look deeper into that. And maybe even if you're not, maybe try to comprehend other people and why they have these beliefs and why they do certain things that they do. I just think it's like a general form of understanding for me. So I like just gain more knowledge by, having those like interpersonal communications and, all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
I love your words.
Thanks.
Yeah. What is your degree going to be in?
So I have a major in business, and I'm stuck between doing information systems or business administration. So also thinking of HR because I think I could be great at customer service. But I also have a minor in psych, and that's what I thought that I would be doing for a very long time. But then I was like, you know what? As much as I love it, this is a passion of mine. I don't think I would thrive. I think I would thrive more in a left brain job. And I just discovered that about myself recently, because I always just thought I had to feed off of my creativity and how I am very right brained in, like, my personal life and stuff like that. But I think regiment sticks with me a lot better than
Yeah.
flow in the
Yeah.
workspace. And so
Yeah.
that's why I minor in psychology. But nonetheless, I still have like my psych brain, and I just like I wanna know people, I want
Yeah.
to understand more.
Well, in wanting to know people, you actually learn about yourself
Mhm.
and expand and give variety into your life. Yeah, it's good. I know that I came in with these skills. It's kind of funny because I remember remembering. I remember remembering like when I was young that I could walk into a room and heal people. The whole Jesus thing, I
Mhm.
knew that that was possible. Not just for Jesus, like
Mm.
people could do this.
Yeah,
Like he was an example in the human form of what we're capable of.
which I think is so like it's so interesting because I don't follow religion per se.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm a little agnostic. And, that's something that my mom and my grandfather, while he was here, was kind of like about. But I'm always just like, I don't know, because it's because of what you said. Like, yeah, he had this gift and people loved him and he sacrificed his life. And, if all that's true, that's very selfless and wonderful. But like you're saying, there's multiple people that can do that same thing that he did, supposedly. So that's where I kind of am grasping at straws. I'm a little bit of a skeptic, but I will never rule anything out, but it's just like how I felt. So,
I love that. I love that you're a skeptic. That's the way of discernment. For me, I remembered that I am capable of walking into a room and healing people, like at a young age. So that's a memory that I had, a knowingness that I had. And I remember someone in fifth grade asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, a nurse, but not a nurse, a teacher, but not a teacher.
that's such like a cool philosophical thing to say for an 8-year-old. You're so cool. I'm like, I was doing that at 8. All I cared about was, playing kickball, passing my papers and
Yeah, I was kind of annoying, I guess, to have
no,
that.
no.
I think the process for me to really take ownership of it, I had definitely some dark nights of the soul.
Mhm.
So kind of, rejecting, I definitely not a churchgoer. I was raised Catholic, I remember in my CCD class, I basically said to the priest,
Mhm.
the Adam and Eve story, this is just a story.
Oh.
And he agreed with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so that was very
Self-awareness.
empowering. So I was calling the church out.
At 8, 9 years old, props to you.
Yeah.
Changed
And
everything.
the thing is, but at the same time, I was also like Mother Mary in the procession. It's hard raising a child like me because I was telling my parents things that they didn't want to hear. I was also very challenging to my parents in the sense that I always spoke my mind.
Yeah.
What I saw in them, I would say. And even though we'd have tension, there was just as much love for both my dad and my mom, even though there was, the fighting or the positions and things like that. And in the end, like I knew when my dad died, when it came down to it, I had already resolved in him and loved him completely
Yeah.
years before.
Yeah.
Years before. It didn't matter. Like, and I always had that in me of that forgiveness, and just all of it served me no matter what went on.
Yeah.
Everything served me for me to step into my power, learn about, and part of what I was learning was also other people's trials and tribulations and being able to be relatable.
Yeah. I feel like that's like tough because there's plenty of people who are like, I don't like, nobody understands, but the fact that you can literally kind of almost put yourself in their shoes, like in your mind, and know what's going on with them, I think is, special. I think it's what like draws people to like having these like healing moments with people who are gifted like yourself. I think that it's something that lacks in the world a lot of the time, where there needs to be more understanding, kind of may have to take a different route to really have someone not only understand but also to heal.
Like really embracing the humanness
Yeah,
is a part of it.
it's a
Like,
concept.
huh?
It's a concept, right?
Right. And my whole intuitive stuff, like I can go onto a property and feel things on a property.
That is wild.
If there's horses on the property or animals that need something, they'll come up and talk to me. There's also like a spiritual boundary sort of thing of not interfering where I'm not invited in.
Yeah, I can see that making sense. Everybody does have their own personal like situations that they're going through, and some people would rather just not even, I don't know, like go into it. I think there's a lot of people who are closed off to the fact. So it makes sense that there's like all these sorts of boundaries and stuff of like
Yeah.
what you are able to do and what you're capable to do per person.
Yeah. There's a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma, drama, and then people put their energy towards that. And that's what keeps them in a place of processing that over and over sometimes, and then creating those same patterns over and over and over and over.
Yeah. And then that kind of becomes your reality. I think we're all at fault of like, having like certain habits or like ways of thinking because of like past negative experiences,
Yeah.
some more than others. So
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, do you believe in past life stuff or
I've
that
been
concept?
I believe in the concept of the fact that our conscious minds can't go with our bodies. Reincarnation is a possibility, but I'm agnostic with knowing that our conscious can't die along with the physical.
Yeah.
May it be, being in a past life and having more lives in the future. If that's so, I definitely feel people that I have lived lives with, where you have that like deeper like connection. Like for example, like I don't know. Of course my mom, like I'm gonna say my mom, but like more so like my grandfather. I feel like I had like this very deep like connection with him.
Yes.
And I'm like, I've lived many moons with you, man. I've
Yeah.
lived many moons.
Yeah.
And so, there's parts of me that like, I guess kind of feel that way. And then my brain's kind of like, wait, but there's so many other possibilities. And so that's where I get the agnostic part, because there's so many ways of thinking about what can happen to us that I can't just stick to one, even though I feel it,
I think you're sensing that is truer, because we're putting words on concepts and of, that sometimes it's hard. And I mean, I use the word past life, but the past, present, and future are all now. We
Yeah,
live in a spiral of all of our dimensions of ourself.
that is very philosophical and very beautiful if you really think about it.
For one client, for example, I said, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff about flight and piloting. And I said, this is a life that you've lived or are living now in
Mhm.
another dimension. His eyes open. He's like, oh my God, when I was a kid, I would just watch planes. So I wanted to be a pilot. But
They say like when you're younger, you have glimpses of those past lives. Like there's more stories about younger kids being like, oh, like my mom, we have to go over here, like, and the mom's right there. And she's like, what do you mean? And then, eventually they grow out of that and into their conscious selves here, like
yeah,
in that moment,
yeah,
whatever life they're living
yeah,
now. But
yeah,
there's been so many times where I've heard stories on the news, or I'm just like looking online because I just web surf sometimes, and there's like stories like that, and that's where it kind of becomes more of a reality for me to feel that way, because there's no way that something can be so accurate sometimes that it can't, like, that it's not true.
so accurate down to the names.
Yeah.
There's even where people can say who murdered them
Yeah.
in that life and all the details.
And that I think is so, I mean, it's just so crazy to think about, because like I've never experienced it, but I can only imagine what those people have to go through, being in a body that they don't feel at that moment is their own, and having to like kind of learn how to be content with their whole new situation. And I also know from what I've like learned about past lives is that, like the people that you are in your past lives with, like for example, I'm going to bring up my grandfather because I will always talk about my grandpa to Phil, but like if I were in a past life with him, he wouldn't just be my grandfather. He could be my dad, he could be my uncle, he could be my friend. There's so many possibilities of what he could be. So like I also think that's a cool concept. And I think that also kind of sets the tone of like, the depths of feelings you get towards certain people, like, you know, like I guess a bond that you have with them that may be like resonate with you so much because they've taken your life in like many different forms. I think that's a cool concept to really kind of think critically about. And it's just like, for me, it's kind of hard to like I said, because I'm all over the place with my beliefs, because I can just believe so many things and then not believe in so many things. And it's just a whole whirlwind up here when it comes to that. But, I've been more open to like the whole past life concept. Sometimes I'll be like, what did I do in my past life? Being like a little victim and like, having those very natural, but, obnoxious thoughts. Like, what did I do in my past life that I'm like this X, Y, and Z, And then
Right.
like when I say it, I almost believe it. I'm like, what did I do? Because there's certain things that are so weird, but so like, I don't know, specific. Like I have POTS, and I have like issues with like balance and stuff like that. Um, and I'm like, was I risking it too much in my past like 5 lives? Like that this one is just like, we are literally physically making you incapable of doing certain things.
Because I ask in the healings, whatever needs to be brought up at that time for the highest good of all concerned.
Mhm.
Whatever needs to be healed at that time for the highest. And it's usually something that is brought up to be healed, that they're continuing to do in this life. And so it's like, okay. So for example, where I see someone riding in on a horse as this, I'm going to come and save the village and all this stuff. And it's like, you don't have to do this.
Yeah. This is
You,
what you have to do right now.
yeah, you can be aware of this aspect of you, that you're capable of doing this, but you don't have to play this role.
I feel like so many people try to play a role that may just not fit into their life. So it just kind of makes sense.
That's what we do sometimes. We're all acting in that, all the world's a stage, because we haven't spoken since you were in middle school.
I know, since I was a baby.
And so the thing is that I kept getting, oh yeah, it's psychology. So like the fact that you said a minor in psychology, I think the HR thing for you is so right on.
Make sure that I am self-sufficient and financially stable. So that's where the practicality came in when I switched my major. Of course, I would love to help people and guide people and be like, pave the way for certain things.
Mhm.
But I also need to make sure that I never have to depend on anyone for anything. In a selfish way, psychology, although I could help people, was not, serving that other purpose that I had.
Right.
That's why I kind of got bumped. But I'll always have that,
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, that's kind of who I am.
Yeah.
My boyfriend sometimes when we get into spouts, he's like, stop psychoanalyzing me. I'm like, I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm really sorry. I try to read into people, I guess, a little bit too much. And, I always say when he gets offensive like that, it's probably because I'm right. But I live a lot with my, I guess, psychology minor brain.
Yeah.
Which is I guess as corny as it is to say, it's true. I just try to understand and know people. And I like helping people resolve their problems.
Well, that's part of reading someone.
Yeah.
That is part of sensing and reading someone. So some people validate it with that reading, how the way you read someone. I don't think you're just using your mind.
Yeah.
I think you're using all of you to read your senses, your feelings, your heart, and you're decoding. And a lot of my work is decoding. I'll get symbols and it's like, okay, it may mean something to me, but what does it mean to that person? But being able to say it in a way that they receive it and understand what it is.
This reminds me a lot of what I've seen on videos about mediumship and people coming through to talk to their loved ones. It's a lot of symbols and a lot of things that kind of just pop up in your brain and you have to say it and then they depict that. But
right.
in your regard, it's healing. I don't know if you do medium.
Well, I do medium. I do it all because I can't help it, because if a dead person comes through, the dead person comes through. And if they don't, they don't.
Yeah,
because I'll have people who come just for that, and I'm like, or they really want that, and it's not till years later where that person finally comes through and a complete amazing healing happens.
Yeah,
but there's a whole lead into it, and it's not like they're not communicating, and it's like they're present but they're not speaking.
Yeah, so I've been a little not skeptical, but there was a time where it was something that I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to book a little mediumship session. And it was the reading was, I guess, spot on, but in my brain, there's a part of me that was I don't know if she was literally just scavenging the internet for stuff. There was a lot of layers to my thoughts, and I'm always very skeptical about everything. So I don't want you to think I don't believe in anything. I think there are people who are truly gifted. I am not undermining what you do or what any other true psych medium does. So what had happened was I booked it, and she was booked for a while, and we didn't do Zoom. She just channeled the person from small information that I gave her.
Yeah.
And it was pretty accurate. And I don't know, part of me was just a little worried, like that maybe, I don't know. There's something, I forget what exactly, where I was like I saw a video that it's like if they keep offering like services to you for you to pay, then like they're not a real medium or something like that.
There are frauds.
Yeah. So that's
There's
where I'm
frauds.
like, are you just trying to get my money? And then
Yeah.
saying like my grandpa's here to like just fool my like little
Heartstring.
grieving heart.
Yeah. Look, and then there's those that have the business side. There's those that they do their business like, okay, your time's up. Do you want more information? Because they're also covering their time.
It definitely could be me. Like I said, I'm always like a very big skeptic, and I understand the business perspective.
Mhm.
I do. Because like in my brain, if you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart, you're a fraud. And that is not always true. Like that's just me being like, if I had a gift, I wouldn't be like, give me an extra $100 and I'll tell you even more of what so and so said. Use it as a business venture and then like kind of market yourself.
Right.
So I also have to understand that too. But I think
Yeah.
it's really cool that you do mediumship too. That helps a lot of people.
I was at this psychic fair. Guy beamed right to me. Are you a medium? And I always say, are you asking if I talk to dead people? He goes, yeah. And he had 6 people. And I said, they may not all come through, but I'm open to receiving, and they all came through. I remember one healing, like you have a grandfather here. And anyway, to make a story short, I start describing him. She goes, oh yeah, he's been with me. She was a soldier. And she pulls out his dog tags that she's wearing.
It's like so nice. I know, like that just helps so many people. Like the healing, of course, but also the closure with loved ones. And it's funny because like I had one session, that's it. And I had one sole purpose, one intention. And that was because I was so close to him. I wanted him to like, you know, come up. And it's funny because my cousin Sam, who's having the baby, big into spirituality, big into mediumship, big into all of that. And both of them, each person had mentioned something about my mother. And I'm like, Mom, you need to friggin' go because I'm nervous. And it was both because of her like health.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, multiple people are saying this and you're not doing anything. She just recently made appointments. So it's like crazy how accurate things can be. Also, like with mediumship, I don't know if it's the person spirit knowing, or maybe it's just you having that intuition and like channeling into a person. But 2 mediums who are doing readings on lost loved ones have both like said, and like your stomach, like you got to do something about that. And it was so freaky. And now finally she's having appointments, but it's been too long. I don't know, just a crazy story about like something ironic that happened when I had a reading, and so did my cousin.
Yeah. And then even with those readings, that soul still has a choice.
Well, my mom's like, yeah, I'll handle this later. And all her stubbornness, she finally made appointments.
Yeah.
But it took her, I had this reading at some point over the summer, and my cousin had the reading probably around 2 years ago. So slow moving.
Well, sometimes people don't take the action. They have all different reasons. Sometimes it's fear, and fear usually is the bottom line.
Yeah, fear and insecurity, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big consciousness thing of where you're going to operate from. You get a choice, and your mom has a huge heart.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And so do you.
I try.
No, there's no try. There's just do, because that's who you are. You have a huge heart, and the heart is a huge communicator. It is your first brain.
Yeah.
Of connecting and authenticity and truth and what resonates with you. The heart has memory and all sorts of information in there, and it resonates. The energy is palpable. You definitely have a toroidal energy field from the heart, and the hearts are what connect. You have this energy field that comes from us, from the
Mhm.
body as well, but the heart has its own gig.
I always feel it. I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. When I know things before they
Yes.
happen, and it's not like a premonition type thing, but it's just like I know something's about to come up and I don't know what it is, but and I feel like that's from there.
Yeah, and knowing when you know something, it's hard to even explain to people what knowingness is,
Yeah.
because it's just like, where did it come from? I don't know. I just know it.
Yeah.
I
Don't
just know
question me,
this.
but I don't have any evidence.
Do you want some? Yeah. Do you want the formula? I don't know if I
Yeah,
have
I
that.
don't have it. It's just, me. So
Yeah.
you really helped me understand like how you came about. And I think again, it's such a gift and it's so interesting and so lovely that like you're able to provide this for, people who need it. And to me, it doesn't seem like an easy task because you're taking on all these emotions. And from what you explain, it's definitely not easy having so much, I guess, for lack of a better term, emotion, like from everyone. And not only that, you're healing people. Sometimes you have channeled loved ones. Like it's a lot to take on. So like overall, I just give you a lot of credit for what you do. You covered all bases for me. So
It's not just what I do, it's who I am.
yeah.
And the being open to what is to come through informational for other people. It's a vessel, basically. And
Yeah, that's the
so I'm
best way to
just
describe it.
and in the old days they used to call it oracles, or witches, or there's so much manipulation of the feminine power. So that's gotten all messed up. That's coming back in, a lot of that languaging for some time now, even the number 13,
Yeah.
like I knew when I was your age that number 13 there was nothing bad about number 13. It was the divine feminine.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th, it was like they made it bad.
Yeah. I'm like, what's bad day for?
Yeah,
Come on.
and
It's good.
the 13th floor, you can't have a 13th floor. That's superstitious and all that things. That was inverted for negative use
Mhm.
to disempower the divine feminine.
Yeah, I think society kind of tries to make mockery of really real things these days. And like, even, when Friday the 13th was created to be like almost like a bad omen, it's not,
Right.
it's like something that you can choose to celebrate in a negative way or a positive way, or just like live on with your day. But it's like the truth of the matter is like 13's not bad. Friday the 13th is not bad. So
No.
I definitely have heard that before too, where it's like we've created this whole Friday the 13th thing, and
Yeah.
it's not actuality.
Right. And so there's layers and layers to that. No, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just one small example of manipulation and inversion of taking power away from one group of people or certain energies, taking the power away and inserting another power. And
Mhm.
that goes on. This, history is always written by those that
Yeah.
wrote it, right?
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
the fact that they even HIS is a whole other thing. History.
Yeah.
You came on saying, "Oh, I don't have those abilities," but then you realize, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah."
Maybe to some extent, perhaps.
Well, the more and more you take ownership of it and responsibility for it, the more and more it'll show up.
Okay.
And yeah, and don't be afraid of it, because that's you stepping into your full divinity.
Interesting. It's cool. It's cool
Yeah,
when you put it like
and I could say it another way, so it doesn't have the word divinity, but you stepping into your full power,
that. Yeah.
your full beingness, your full expression.
so cool to think of. I will definitely keep that in mind. That's something that I just haven't, I guess, necessarily thought of, but now I will consider when I, like, go into things, like having that gut feeling or that, dream
Yeah.
that not just be a dream.
And you know.
Yeah.
So love you. So appreciate your curiosity and your desire to
Likewise.
know more, and you're reaching out to know more. And we'll connect soon.
Absolutely.
Take care.
All righty. Bye.
Bye, Carly.